Members of the media, people of these Virgin Islands, good afternoon. I'm pleased to be here this afternoon standing firm on my promise to keep you informed of various matters of the territory. I did say at the last press briefing, that I would be doing this at 2 weekly intervals for a while, but because I will be out of the territory next week, which would be due on Tuesday, I thought it was best to make a presentation today and have a discussion. Allow me this afternoon to speak on 3 important matters. One, my upcoming trip to Hong Kong, my upcoming trip to Gibraltar and what it means for this territory, and the Gun Creek development. First, let's talk about my trip to Hong Kong. In the Asia-Pacific region, the BVI is the jurisdiction of choice. In fact, BVI plays a very important role in the global economy, and it is therefore paramount that we aggressively move to strengthen and expand into existing markets, as well as explore and develop our physical presence in the Pacific Rim. On several occasions, I previously shared with you my plans to establish an office in Hong Kong with a specific focus of advancing the territory's financial services industry. The establishment of an office in the Far East is a major component of my government strategy to expand and deepen the commercial footprint of the territory in one of the most important global markets. The establishment of the Hong Kong office will allow BVI at home to have a physical presence in the Far East, to obtain information in real time, and to vitalize and collaborate with financial services industry partners with offices in that jurisdiction. It is for this reason that over the past several months, BVI has been working diligently to establish and set up that office. Through the hard work of my team in the Premier's Office, the Financial Services Commission, and the chair of the BVI Financial Services Business Development, we are ready to move. And so I'll be leaving for Hong Kong for the formal opening of the BVI Hong Kong office on September the 5th. Our leader delegation, including the Permanent Secretary, Premier's Office, member of the House of Assembly, Mr. Alvin Christopher, and representatives of the Financial Services Commission. An official opening ceremony is planned where invited guests would include partners from a BVI, an Asian financial services community, and Asian government and diplomatic officials. The BVI Asia office would mirror similar activities of the BVI London office, but with a specific focus on financial services, promoting BVI business brand, including tourism, and new international investment opportunities. The Virgin Atlanta will serve as a director and is expected to take up office shortly. An operation manager with extensive experience in financial services and accounting was recently hired and will oversee the operations of BVI Asia in the interim period. The BVI Hong Kong office will be a second international office and will assist BVI significantly to spread their wings and to expand the financial services market. The functions of the office will also include diplomatic representation in the Asia-Pacific region, strengthen BVI's voice with government authorities in the region, and promoting BVI business, including tourism and new international investment opportunities. Secondly, let me talk about my upcoming trip to Gibraltar. From September 8 to 11th, overseas territories will meet in Gibraltar for a pre-GMC meeting ahead of the second annual Joint Ministerial Council meeting between the OTs and the United Kingdom government, which is scheduled in London from November 25th to 28th. The JMC is a group of political leaders of the overseas and UK ministers, which provides a forum for the exchange of views on political and constitutional issues. The United Kingdom and the territories share a vision to continue working closely together to ensure that the individual constitutional relationships work effectively to promote the best interests of the United Kingdom and the territories, and to encourage stronger links between the United Kingdom Parliament and the national assemblies in the territories. The last GMC meeting was held in December 2012 in London between political leaders and representatives of the United Kingdom and its overseas territories, and was referred to as a new Joint Ministerial Council. The Council has identified and agreed priority areas to be worked on. These include economic growth and jobs, protecting the environment, harnessing international support, and delivering better government, better education, and stronger, healthier, and safer communities. This pre-JMC meeting will focus on setting the agenda for the November meeting on matters relating to the priority areas, as well as related areas of discussions such as governance and the future of financial services. For BVI, this pre-JMC meeting will enable us to have face-to-face deliberations and agree on strategies and plans regarding many issues affecting the OTs, and in particular, the ongoing global economic initiatives. Our lead BVI team consisting of myself, Deputy Secretary, Mr. Broderick Penn, and Director of the London office, Mr. Kedrick Malone. I look forward to the dialogue. Lastly, allow me to update you on the proposed Gun Creek development. As you're aware, on March 1st, 2012, my government declared Gun Creek a port of entry. Gun Creek is the gateway to North Song and the surrounding areas, and as such can offer a multiplicity of entrepreneurial opportunities to residents. Additionally, it is a key transition point for many of the territory's visitors and residents. My government sees the development of Gun Creek as a catalyst to improve the destination's competitive edge, and as such we have been finding effective ways to further stimulate the economy of Virgin Gorda to enhance the tourism product there. As you know, we have been moving forward with the proposed plan for development of Gun Creek. I have met with the North Song community to get their feedback. My government's intention is to encourage residents to take advantage of the opportunities presented by developing the area to enhance tourism and boost the economy. Early April, we met with the North Song community, and I was very happy to see how well attended the meeting was. In fact, I'm very pleased that residents provided much needed feedback, which was truly the purpose of the meeting. The fact that the meeting was so well attended proves that residents have a vested interest in the future of Gun Creek, North Song, and the island of Virgin Gorda. I had many well-considered important views from the public, including views on matters they wish to address on Virgin Gorda. We noted all the comments and suggestions, compiled and analyzed information, and produced an action plan for the way forward. One of the to-dos from the action plan was to form the Gun Creek Development Committee to further explore the ideas and concerns coming out of that meeting, as well as to receive further input for the effective and strategic way forward. The committee comprises various persons representing the public and private sectors, including land and business owners in the Gun Creek area. Just this Tuesday, members of my team from the Premier's office, led by Deputy Secretary Mr. Broderick Penn, were in the North Song community meeting with the committee. The group sat down and brainstormed several ideas for the area. They discussed options and solutions for the existing garbage, cargo, and parking concerns in the area. They also brainstormed ideas for potential businesses and services in the area, as well as how government can support the development of those businesses. And that is what we want. We want to encourage residents to take advantage of the opportunities presented by developing Gun Creek and have a heavy hand in shaping how the area is developed. Indeed, the committee puts us in a better position to understand what the residents want to see for the area and how we can achieve it together. In fact, the outcome of the committee discussions will influence the conceptual plan, which will later be discussed with the public. Ladies and gentlemen, the development of Gun Creek is a priority for my government's effort to further develop and enhance the Virgin Islands tourism product. Let me tell you, Gun Creek has not been explored in isolation of other critical issues for Virgin Gorda's residents, and many other projects for the island are being actively advanced by other ministries. In closing, my government will continue to do all it can to move this territory strategically forward so we can build a better British Virgin Islands so generations to come will benefit. I thank you all, and this time I welcome your questions.
Crystal Koenig from the BVI Beacon. Premier, what's your reaction to France placing the BVI on its list of uncooperative tax havens earlier this month?
Thank you for your question. When I saw that news, I was really shocked because we have done the necessary things. We have signed a TIA, Treaty for Tax Exchange with France. We have also joined the pilot multilateral with the European Union countries, the 5 countries. And we have also indicated that we are signing up to the convention on tax, the multilateral convention on tax information exchange. So we're doing all the right things, and we have done those things. So we were quite amazed at hearing that. But what we are doing is investigating to find out what is the reason, and we move speedily to make sure that it is corrected, so that we'll be off that blacklist and continue to have good relationships with France.
Thank you. Just one follow-up. According to Reuters, the requests for information from France, up to 2011, they had submitted 41 requests for information, and the BVI had responded to 31 of those. So is it a regular practice to not respond to certain of these requests, and why might that be?
When requests are made, they of course are looked at by the ITA, International Tax Authority, and requests that should be made, true requests, let us say, then they're responded to. If they're not, then the persons who are asking for the requests responded to, and maybe for further information about why the request is made.
Premier Sean Rose, JTV News, continuing along that line somewhat, does the BVI stand to lose, and if so significantly, from being blacklisted by the French, and how soon can you anticipate that this matter would be resolved?
We have already begun investigating the reason, and we will move on that speedily. I don't anticipate any necessary untoward effects at this time, and I anticipate that once we have discovered or understood or know the cause, that we will be able to get that rectified very shortly and be not blacklisted by France.
Melissa Edwards, BVI Platinum News. Premier Smith, do you know of any instance where the BVI has actually been uncooperative with France? And secondly, in relation to the Hong Kong office, can you give us a name of the person who is actually going to head that office, and how much money government has actually invested in this startup of the office?
First question, do I know of any uncooperative incidents? Personally, I don't know of any uncooperative incidents. This matter just came to light yesterday, and we are doing the necessary investigations to find out what was the reason. And once we can find that out, we will be taking the necessary action. As far as the office is concerned in Hong Kong, we have not yet completed the selection of the person. We have a short list. But as soon as we have really identified that person, we have several persons looking at, then we'll be able to tell you.
The investment made in the setting up of the office.
I cannot give you an accurate figure of what we have spent so far in setting up the office at this time, but I can get that figure for you. I know that the London office, for example, the run that office costs around about $800,000 per year. And I'm sure that eventually the run of the Hong Kong offices will probably be in the same range. I can also tell you that the London office has been very effective in promoting the BVI and taking care of matters relating to our relationship with the United Kingdom and the European Union.
Premier Smith, Ron Henry from Virgin Islands News Online. You talked about the Gun Creek initiative by government with residents of Virgin Gorda. Could you speak a little about the feedback that you would have received, and also if you could talk about claims by residents perhaps that the focus group that met with members of government were handpicked to some degree?
Okay. Well, let me talk about the
Feedback.
selection first of the group. Of course, one had to select certain people, and the idea was to select people from who are residents of North Sound, and that is exactly what we did. We asked other persons who live there to also recommend persons who could serve on the committee. Hence, we came up with a list of names. But I must say that if there's anyone else in the North Sound area who wishes to have input into the process, they'd be very, very welcome. Because that is the whole thing. It's all about discussion with the residents of North Sound to see what they want. It's not about what I want or what anybody, it's just about what the people in North Sound want. We see it as an opportunity for improvement in the business activities in the area for the people of North Sound. And this is why we are engaged in it.
Okay, could you give some indication of the feedback you received, and also just to follow up to the response you gave, could you give an idea of whether you feel the focus group was representative of the community at large? As you said, you made your selection on the basis of residents and recommendations, and also perhaps the numbers that attended?
I did not attend the second meeting. I was at the first meeting, which was very well attended. I appreciated the feedback. First of all, when we had that meeting, what we presented was a concept. What we presented was a concept of what the Gun Creek development would be like. It was nothing that was fixed in stone, and what the final outcome would be would depend on the interaction and recommendations by the people who attended the meeting. Most of the persons who were there at the meeting spoke about what they would like to see in the development. They spoke about the fact that maybe it was too dense or maybe they needed something different. And that was fine because, as I said, we kept on explaining that was just a concept. And whatever the final outcome would be would depend on what the people in the area wanted to see.
Premier, good afternoon. Zam Lewis, ZBV Radio. Premier, you looked at three matters: Hong Kong, Gibraltar, Gun Creek. The situation with France placing the BVI on the blacklist. Were those three are very important that you listed? Don't you think the situation with France blacklisting the BVI was such a priority that you should have placed it probably among the three that you are highlighting here today? Why was it one of your priority areas to be addressed? Are you feel comfortable?
It was not part of my initial statement because it is something we learned yesterday, which we investigated. Not having any further information about the matter, it was pointless to put it as a point for discussion.
Premier, you said that you were shocked and the territory is doing everything that is right, and the certain requests were made, and they were. Is it correct to say, or these requests that were made from France, do you normally is aware of these requests are made, or they are handled by some of the area, and you are not aware? Because if it claims to you that came to you as a shock, you have to know what should have been happening. So are you aware of the requests that have been made in the past by France?
No, I would not have seen those requests on an individual basis. We have set up an IT or International Tax Authority in the Ministry of Finance, and they handle all that, the matters that come through the ministry in that regard.
So is it correct to say then, sir, that if you were informed from this committee, you would have been better able to handle the situation, and you would not have been shocked today?
No, if there were difficulties associated with the request, the committee would have informed us. So this is why we are not sure what the cause is, and this is why we are amazed, and this is why we are trying to find out so we can address the matters.
Malika
Monica McPherson, the Island Sun newspaper. Mr. Premier, we're heading into the new tourist season, and I'm sure you might be aware of all the many complaints involving Liat. 2 weeks ago, there was a wedding party heading to the territory where most of the guests were stranded and the bride had to cry to be allowed to enter. Also, last week, flights with persons, most of the passengers destined to the territory, were left stranded in Antigua, and VI Airlink had to come and bail out the situation. Do you think the government might be considering subsidizing BVI Airways and VI Airlink, considering all these complaints and the tourism season just approaching?
We are aware of the situation with Liat and we are very concerned. This is why we have initiated several weeks ago now, in fact I mentioned that during my last conference, talks with various carriers, including talks with Liat themselves, so we can get a better, more reliable service to the British Virgin Islands.
Just to follow up, sir, but, sir, the entire OECS are having talks with Liat, putting it frankly, and we have 2 local companies here that are doing a great job. Do you think that, you know, as the Premier, you might want to look into more or less subsidizing these airlines? Even though they're small, they've been really running their routes.
Let me just repeat. We have been having discussions with many carriers, including the ones that are, located here in the BVI, including VI Airlink. And we will continue the talks until we come to a solution that is best for the BVI. They're ongoing at the moment.
Premier, following your August 20 press conference where you spoke on issues relating to the IGA discussions with the U.S. government, particularly the U.S. Treasury, the 3rd District Representative, Honorable Julian Fraser, has responded with a statement, and he made a number of damning allegations. Whether or not the evidence is there to support those allegations, that is up for debate. But you have responded with a similar statement, or a statement saying that, among other things, the BVI government's role with FACTA is to facilitate reporting obligations of the U.S. persons residing in the BVI, and primarily to reduce costs associated with direct reporting to the U.S. government. Does this explanation given by yourself suggest that maybe the 3rd District Representative was unaware of the facts before he made that statement?
I think that's a good way to put it.
And if that is your response, sir, what then should the BVI public garner from this trade-off between yourself and the 3rd District Representative? What do you want BVI people to think about this agreement that you're about to sign, or you're in discussions with the U.S. about?
There's no trade-off between myself and the representative from the 3rd District. I made a statement which I reiterated and made a fuller statement to explain. I also said that beginning next month, there will be a public education program conducted by government to inform the residents of BVI of the full extent of what is required by FATCA. The reality is that the financial services is a very competitive sector, and we do what we have to do in order to facilitate the sector, and that is one thing which we think would be very useful to help to promote it, continue to promote this jurisdiction as a jurisdiction of choice, which is important, as there are many other areas, persons who are countries who are involved also in financial services.
Does the same apply to the UK factor as well?
Could you repeat that?
Does the same concerns apply to complying with the UK factor?
Yes. The UK FATCA is modeled from the US FATCA. Yeah.
Premier, let's deal with FATCA. Would you say, sir, that the move taken by government with abiding with FATCA is a move that government had to take? They had no choice without any compromising. Compromising in the sense that in relation to recent statements where you made about maintaining that relationship with the United States, and also in terms of they providing banking, medical, and other facilities to the people in the Virgin Islands. Would you say that decision by the government had to be done because you were a bit compromised in the whole situation?
No. The decision of the government was merely to facilitate the transfer of information from the foreign financial institutions. That's essentially what it was about. Of course, as you know, and I think you all know, that the United States has jurisdiction over its citizens worldwide, and all Americans are expected to pay the tax wherever they live. And this is what FATCA is about.
Premier, every jurisdiction has to take steps to protect or every country has to take steps to protect their jurisdiction. The BVI did so some time ago when they were under pressure, when you had to do a lot of traveling to clear the air as regards transparency. The U.S. is involved losing a lot of money because of tax evasion. They would have lost over $100 billion within the last year, and similarly to those countries that you mentioned, France, Italy. Do you think, sir, as regards the steps known by FATCA, is, as one person said, is a ticking time bomb for the Caribbean, number one, and also in relation to a recent statement made by the American citizens abroad, which claims that FATCA is an unacceptable manifestation of U.S. financial imperialism that imposes U.S. law on the rest of the world, and this can lead to systematic destabilizing of international financial markets. You agree with that, sir?
The reality is all the major countries, including the United Kingdom, America, Germany, everybody, they're all interested in retaining as much of their taxes as they can. And this is why, led by the OECD, all these initiatives are coming to pass. You probably would have known about the relationship between United States and Switzerland over the past several months, where they now have, because of the intervention, the use of Switzerland as a financial services center took a serious hit for a while. And so these are realities, the new realities, if you wish, that countries expect their residents to pay the taxes that are due to them. And really, from the point of view of BVI, the financial services jurisdiction, the BVI business companies use very much around the world, but we expect the personnel to use those companies to pay the taxes that are necessary in the countries in which they are operating.
Premier Smith, the Minister for Education recently discussed the idea of holding discussions with residents towards the perhaps reconsideration of primary 5 and school leaving exams. Is this a position of government? Do you share that position personally?
Could you explain yourself a bit more?
Discussions with residents, he suggested, should be held towards reconsidering perhaps the primary 5 and school leaving exams. Is this your position?
When you say reconsidering them, what do you mean?
Whether they should be eliminated, continued?
That is something that has not been discussed at cabinet level. And when the minister has decided that is something he'd like to move forward, he will bring it to the table and we'll have a discussion as colleagues before the decision is made.
Premier Smith, at the last press conference, after the press conference, you supplied the media with the names of the company behind the cruise pier development. Can you say if there are any BVI Islanders who are stakeholders in TPP? And secondly, can you confirm whether the government of the Virgin Islands have actually officially written to the United Kingdom, the FCO, for approval for the project? And secondly, thirdly, sorry, in relation to the Prospect Reef development, I know you said 2 companies are now in relation to that seeking the deal. I don't know if I hope I can pronounce the name correctly. The UK company McAlpin, is that one of the companies that is actually interested in the deal.
Okay, the first one, let's go back on the first two.
The first two is in relation to the cruise pier project.
Right, Okay, in relation to the cruise pier project, I think you wanted to know if there were any local person involved with
Well, and
TPP
yes,
or with the
stakeholders,
project.
yes.
At the moment, no. Right? But as you are aware from the information I was presented, there's a provision for 20% by a public offering to members of the BVI community.
Have you written to
That
the
has not taken place as yet, but that will take place.
Which one? This locals, the 20%?
Yeah.
Okay. The letter.
The,
asking about.
the project about the cruise pier has been submitted to the British government. We, of course, whenever a project is conceived, before it's completely signed off, there are final conditions to be met, and those will have to be submitted once they're complete, and they're almost complete. So I expect that very soon those final bits will be submitted to the British government.
So you've actually written.
Of course, yes.
From that. And Prospect Reef, Mark Alvin.
What was the Prospect Reef question
I
again?
was asking, you said two companies.
Oh yes, yeah.
So I'm asking if McAlpin is one, the UK company, if that is one of the companies that are interested in the deal in Prospect Reef.
I do not think that I'm ready to answer the question on the companies at this moment.
So it's not.
So I will be able to give you that answer in a few weeks' time when I get all the other information in on who will be involved.
Not who will be, I was asking about the two, so I'm asking if McAlpin is one.
No, I'll be able to give you that in my next session, I hope, when I have more information as to who will be involved.
Premier Smith, a few months ago, the U.S. Virgin Islands took the bold move to implement a no-smoking policy on all public beaches. The BVI has a smoking ban that got enforced in 2006. Do you think that an amendment will be done to also implement such a move?
We have not discussed that as yet. The Minister of Health is cognizant of the move that was made by the United States Virgin Islands, and he's looking at that and looking at the current legislation that we have here in the BVI, and he will be making a recommendation to his colleagues on the matter.
Premier, I would like to revisit the financial discussion because I am not sure that residents are fully clear on the likely impact of not just the FATCA itself and the recent blacklisting by the French, but also what is likely to come down the road. You've mentioned that you are on your way to the UK pretty soon to have discussions with other OTC countries and so forth. Where do you see the financial services sector going, given what has been happening within recent times, in particular as it relates to this new blacklist coming out from the French government?
Let me put it this way. Since the inception of the financial service sector here in the BVI, there have been continual challenges put up by new initiatives by the OECD countries, by the FATF and other regulators, other regulatory bodies. And it is a constant progression of new initiatives put by them on new challenges. We've always addressed those challenges, addressed those initiatives, and the BVI has continued to have a very sustainable financial services sector. The BVI will continue to address the challenges that come, and I'm sure that we'll be able to continue to have a sector that continues to thrive as it has for the BVI. The challenges, of course, will continue and they'll get greater, but we will have to do what we have to do, look at the challenges, make adjustments when necessary to a model to be able to continue to perform in this sector.
But sir, with all due respect, there seems to be a segregation of the approach by members of the legislature, because the 3rd District Representative Fraser is suggesting that by signing the U.S. FATCA, you are the government of which you are the leader, sir, are overreaching and must be stopped. And this obviously would be viewed by the international community as a division, pretty much.
That's not a division. He's not a member of the government.
But
government body.
he's a member of the legislature.
He is, of course. Yeah.
And that
But
image
the
is...
legislature functions by majority, even when there's a vote being taken on any matter in the legislative council.
But don't you think
Or the
there's
House
a
of
need...
Assembly, rather.
Sorry, but don't you think there's a need for a more unified approach to safeguarding the financial services sector?
We expect that there should be a unified approach, and this is why we established a committee comprising members of the government and members of opposition, which will have a meeting when as soon as the House is reconvened. And we expect that this will help to continue the cohesive approach. We've always had a united approach as far as financial services is concerned in this country. And opposition and the government have always worked together in this area. But
It's changing.
who knows?
From the Gibraltar meeting coming up, you said that they're going to prepare for the November meeting with OT. What you will be taking to the table to this meeting with the OTs? What will you be taking to the meeting as concerns for the BVI at this time?
Let me just go back to my statement. In the statement, I said that the council has identified and agreed priority areas to be worked on. These include economic growth and jobs, protecting the environment, harnessing international support, and delivering better government, better education, and stronger, healthy, and safer communities. These are all areas with which we are concerned and which we play a major part in discussions. Okay, I would like to thank you all. It's now, and I hope that I was able to shed some light onto your questions. Look forward to another discussion when I return. Thank you.